I think we got everything on the list. You said thread and needle. There are some really important things to know about needle and thread. Who here sews? Right. So, no pun intended. When you sew, there are multiple different types of thread. Some threads are designed to work with cotton, and they're very lightweight, and they might be made of cotton, and they're very awesome, but they suck for fursuits. You need to get heavy-duty thread, something that will, for example, not burst open when you bend over if you're wearing a full suit, or suddenly cause your tail to have stuffing to come out of it. So there are several different brands. I'm not going to recommend any brands because it changes so frequently that it's easy to get out of touch. But if you go to a really good store that sells thread and say, I am working with faux fur, I need something that's super strong. It needs to be of the order of like outdoor rated thread. It's very good. It tends to be a little thicker, but it's important that you use the right thread. Also, get thread that matches your suit. There is nothing worse than having a lovely red fox like Jimmy and then fixing, I don't know, fixing something up here with bright yellow thread, right? We'll talk about how you can hide your stitches later, because that's part of doing all of this, but having thread that is appropriate for the color of your suit is really important. So that lovely suit that just walked in there, you would need like that aqua color, that light blue, and then a darker blue. You need those two threads. Keep them with you when you are traveling to a convention or you're doing any kind of travel away from home. Make sure you have them at home. All right. So, let's talk about brushes. What type of brush do you take with you? Pop quiz question.
Dog brush.
Any other suggestions?
Copper.
Sorry?
Copper.
Okay, any others? I love you all. This is so great. Because like 20 years ago, if you did a fur con and you talked about brushes, people would like, you use a slicker brush! You know, like you see in, I don't have my slicker with me. This is a carding brush. I don't know why I've got this, but it looks a bit like this slicker brush. Sometimes, oh, there's one right there. That's a slicker brush, everyone. Slicker brushes work by destroying your fursuit. If you have a slicker brush, imagine this is a slicker brush. I'm doing this to Jimmy because he's old and I love him, but I'm not going to damage him. If you do this and then you pull down, slicker brushes are designed to pull out tangles. Now, if you do this, you will pull material out of your fursuit. So if you are going to use a slicker brush, use it upside down. Remember, this is not a slicker brush. This is a stand-in for a slicker brush because I left my slicker at home. You go down like this. You go down with the direction of the material. Now, one of the important things when you are caring for a fursuit is to know which direction the material lays and what direction the fur needs to go. You're always going to try and brush with, not up. So brush down, not up, with the direction. So can you see on Chimmy's head here? Oh, Chimmy, you're in such a state.
I know, man.
So you're going to go down like this, right? Can you see he's got this lovely mohawk in the middle? So on that side, his fur is actually laying up, and then on the other side, so I'm actually brushing it kind of up into the middle, like so, and then I do it on the other side. Same with his ears. I'm going to brush it up like that, brush it up like that. Now your maker will probably have done it so that the fur goes that way on the head. Sometimes it's slightly different. If you've got a particular design of fursuit, it can be slightly different. But brushing with is also really important. And you brush down, and you brush down. Now, who said dog brush? This is kind of,
It looks more like a horse brush.
it's more like a horse brush. It is actually designed for dogs. Horse ones are bigger, but this is a thick bristle. It's not a slicker which pulls out fur. This is almost like a very hard brush that you're going to use to come down. I like it because I put my hand through it like that, but another alternative would be to use something like this, which is almost the same kind of thickness. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Kind of very dense. And when you're brushing, you're not going to try and go all the way down. You're going to try and do short little downs like that. Can you see how those fibers are now lining up? Something on chimney is rattling, or it's in here. I'm not sure which. But that now looks so much better. That little action there is just kind of helping the fibers lay flat, helping the fibers not stick up. Now, can you see right now, if I hold Jimmy up, can you see he's got some static issues? Can you see some of these, if I put my hand here, can you see them wave?
Oh, yeah.
Static. So what some people like to do, some fursuiters say it's terrible to do. Come on in, there's plenty of room. What some people say is they can use dryer sheets. And they grab a dryer sheet and they just put their dryer sheet one swipe down where the fur is sticking up and brush. So you have one hand with your brush, one hand with your dryer sheet, and you literally go brush, dryer sheet, brush, dryer sheet, brush, dryer sheet. And after about 3 or 4 passes, hello, do you want to come in? Yeah. Oh, I guess. 2 of my awesome friends, who are both incredible performers. I was going to not say who you were, but you've got your freaking badge on.
We don't need no stinking badges.
We don't look at this. It's an awesome badge. Does it have a picture of it?
No.
This is Anthro.
Dragon soup.
Yes, and we were in. Are you okay?
Yeah. I just rolled out of bed.
Oh, okay. If you came to Mobius's handling panel yesterday, who came to Mobius's handling panel yesterday?
One right here.
Going down in the corner over there.
Okay, this is the goofball who I was mucking around with in the panel yesterday.
Oh yeah, thanks for the pan.
Stealing your suit
Absolutely.
and your wings and everything. All right, so these brushes are good. You can buy them from a pet store. They are much better than a slicker brush. Do not use a slicker brush on your suit. Unless, well, we'll come to that later on. All right. So, that's the basics of brushing. If you're unsure which way the fur goes, ask your maker, because they will have figured that out. When your suit is not being worn, it needs to be stored somewhere dry, somewhere that's not too hot or too cold, and is out of direct sunlight. The number of people I have met with fursuits who put them in the window to freak out their neighbors and then go, wait, my fur is not the same color as it used to be. These are just carpets. Everybody knows that, right? The material that fursuits are made of is the same material that you are walking on. It's basically carpet material. And you have to treat it the same as you would a carpet. You keep it clean. You don't put any harsh chemicals on it.
You step on it.
You don't step on it. But other than that, yes, I didn't think about that. Good point. I feel called out now. This is what happens when you're an old person who gets to do a panel.
What about direct sunlight?
Try and keep it away from direct sunlight. Bye! You, HRH will be out later.
Okay.
All right? So I'd like to spend some time, she'd like to spend some time being a goofball.
Harass the god again?
I wouldn't say that. I would never harass a deity. I have utmost respect for deities, dear. Later. Where was I? Right, keep it out of sunlight. Obviously going outside in sun in a fursuit's fine. It's if you leave it sat in a windowsill for days at a time. I have some plushies in my truck, okay? I have like a little fox plushie that sits on my dashboard, kind of faces towards me and its back faces out of the window. And after about 5 years, the back of the fox, the bit that faces the sun all the time, has gone like this very light red, as opposed to the brown that it originally was. So just be aware, long term. All right, so when you are wearing your suit and you take it off, what's the first thing you do?
Air joint?
Just go, ah! Yeah, take it off. What's the next thing on your list?
Fan it.
Sorry?
Fan it.
Put a fan in it. If you are traveling, something like this is great. If you're driving to a con, I live locally. I live like south of here, I'm in Oregon. So this is one of my favorite fans for heads because it can do that, but it can also do that. So first thing you do, this is your alcohol spray. Now, what you should do, isopropyl alcohol, this stuff, you can use 70%. Don't sniff it, don't drink it, it will make you sick. And then you'll have to go and see my friend Mobius. He would not be happy about that. All right, so you put water in, you fill up your alcohol to about here, the rest is water. And then if you want to smell nice, does anyone have any allergies in this room before I spray this to anything that might be airborne? All right, I am a super taster, so I always check. Oh. Make sure you close it when you transport it. Can you smell that? It smells slightly lavendery. Yeah? So I use essential oil that you can buy from a pharmacy or an online store. Make sure that it is actually essential oil and it's not got other stuff in it. It has to be just the oil and the scent, right? You put literally 2 or 3 drops of that in here. Wait, sorry?
The whole thing.
Yeah. A few drops of this.
Those are potent.
These are potent. I'm gonna hold it over your nose here. Don't pass out. See how strong that is? Yeah. So this is really strong stuff, and I bought this like 10 years ago. So you get this, you get your head. I'm afraid I am gonna sacrifice you because I need to wear her later. So this does depend. If you have a foam-based head, Jimmy's foam, right? Doesn't matter if that happens. I'm really sorry, man. So sorry.
And it's about 32 ounces or 24 ounces of two to 3 drops?
This is a 32-ounce stuff,
32,
yeah. So
okay.
a couple of drops. So I have a balaclava inside mine, right? Literally, you grab your head even. I can't work today. A couple of sprays. Oh, let's set it to a mist rather than a drench. You mist it in. Then you put it straight on there. Turn your fan on, and it will blow cold air into the head, and it will dry out, and it will sanitize. Why do we use alcohol spray?
Kills germs.
Evaporates. Kill germs. Living on your head right now is billions of bacteria. The smell that you get from your armpits and other parts of your body is the bacteria, right? That's what makes the smell. You are sweating. There's lots of fun stuff in your sweat for bacteria to live on. And when they come across your sweat, they go, wee, it's dinner time, and then they multiply, and that's what the smell is, right? So if you spray alcohol into your head, you will minimize that process from happening. You will keep it smelling nice, and if you are at a convention, every time you take your head off, put it on your fan, spray it, or spray it and then put it on your fan. And then start brushing. Do not be one of those fursuiters who comes in. You know, you've been out on the con floor for 8 hours in suit, you're exhausted, you whack your head on the floor, you go to sleep. Don't do that. Even if it is 11 o'clock at night, you're going out to the late night DJ set, or 2 a.m., coming back to your room, and you've had a good time, but you're absolutely exhausted, you should still plan just a few minutes just to make sure your suit's okay, prep it, and brush it down. Why? Because these suits, if they get wet, and you're going to be sweating, the fibers will start to kink and go wavy, and then what you end up with is a suit that has undulations in it. Has anyone seen that before? A suitor with like waves in their fur? Yeah? And if you leave it long enough, it gets matted. If you leave it longer than that, it starts to look really not good. If you look at the suitors who have older suits that are well presented, 99% of the time, it's not because the suit was made by some amazing fursuit manufacturer, although that does help. If you've got a good maker and they've used good techniques to make the suit, it's easier to maintain. But you can make older suits look better just by following proper brushing techniques. Brush down. I'll demonstrate again with this tail. The other thing to point out here is that, can you see that the fur, there are some parts of Chimmy's tail that look good, and there are other parts that are like, especially around here, right? These bits where the fur is going to get rubbed, moved, where there's going to be a lot of movement. And again, I'm just brushing down. I'm working down the tail all the way down to the bottom. Now, he's got static, so I'm not going to carry on brushing him out. Hang up your tail on a rack or something so that it can sit like that. If you have a foam-based tail, be aware that sometimes you're going to have to do this. Hold it upside down and shake it and break up the stuff inside. If you have a stuffed tail, who here has a stuffed tail? Most of us should have a stuffed tail, I would assume. You know what's inside these, right? Polyfill, the same stuff that's inside pillowcases or some pillows or plushies. If it gets wet, it clumps together. The reason polyfill is so awesome is it's mostly air, but over time, it will start to clump down into the base of the tail. You can see it just a little bit here. Can you see there's a limp bit here? It's because Chimmy's tail has started to collect all of the polyfill at the bottom. You literally just grab it, pull it apart, just encourage that polyfill to separate. And then you can redistribute it through the tail so that it sits properly. And then you can go ahead and brush it again. All right, where am I on my thing? Someone's going to watch this and go, you sound really American. I just realized I sound a little bit more American than I normally do because I don't know, my brain does this sometimes. All right, so immediately after wear, you're going to try and wash it at con, not wash it, clean it at con. Just spray it, make sure it doesn't have any nasties in. Body suits, again, hang it up, spray, spray, spray inside. Armpits, crotch area, those are the key ones. You may also want to go around the neckline if you have a particularly sweaty neck. As Temperance said earlier on, sorry I couldn't remember her fan name. As Temperance said earlier on, if you are doing a lot of full body suiting, wearing Under Armour or some layer, base layer, will really help minimize the transfer of sweat and nasties to your suit. It will help your suit last longer, and when you're at a con, it will also minimize the amount of smelliness that your suit gets. But believe me, you do not want to hug someone on day 4 of a con who hasn't sprayed their suit. I can smell them a mile off. I can normally see them a mile off too, because it's normally the same people who don't brush their suits. You can tell. All right, so these brushes are for the most of the time. Sometimes you might want to use something like this. These metal combs. They're good for 2 things. One thing, These brushes do result in less fur coming out when you brush. Like if this is a slicker brush, it would be so much more full based on the amount of brushing I've done. The cool thing about these metal brushes is you can just get them in here like this. And you see that? That's mainly chimney coming out of there. And unlike a real animal, it doesn't grow back. Right? There you go. I got some chimney fluff there.
You might be able to make chimney too with that.
Yes. Well, this guy is actually V2.
Chimney 3.
There might be a third version eventually. We'll see. But sometimes you might want to use this on a tail or a crotch area on a bodysuit. So, where was that nice little knot I had earlier? This is considered a more advanced technique. Do not just do this willy-nilly. Right. Put your brush in put your comb in like that. Do not pull down. You're going to twist. That's all you're going to do. Put it in. Twist. This is to get rid of kinks. It's not to brush stuff out. It's to get rid of kinks. If you do it like this, you're putting minimal force on the fabric. If you pull down like this, you will pull fibers out. So put in and twist. There is a particularly tough knot, and you need to be sensible about this. You need to be judicious, and you need to use common sense. Can you hear it coming apart here? Just listen. You hear that? You hear that? It's like if you brush your hair. You're just going to break apart those stuck fibers. Like I say, armpits and crotches are the big ones. You hear it? And can you see how much better that already looks at the top of that tail? I'll do it on this side. So you put it in. See all of this is a bit knotted here. You're just very gently going to pull it. Oh, a little bit of the fabric, a bit of the. You're basically allowing those bits of thread to come out, well, the fibers to detangle themselves without like pulling them down super hard. Now, you can do this on, sometimes you can actually pull it out like this, but I wouldn't recommend it. You can do it on the heads as well. I'm going to do this on her ears here. Just that end there. I'm holding the fibers, supporting them, but I'm just detangling them. Once I've detangled them, then I can go ahead and use a normal brush, but it just helps you get rid of those tangles and use the tight end of it. Not the, yeah?
Yeah, she's got just long hair.
So if you've got an animal that you regularly brush, you'll probably find it's a lot easier to work on.
Where do you get that kind of comb?
I got this at the pet store. Most of this stuff I get from the pet store, right? It's just really easy stuff to get hold of. All right, let's talk about washing. So you've been wearing your fursuit. You wanna wash it. What's the first thing that you want to do when you're washing your fursuit? Sorry? You can do a spot test, but the first thing is talk to your suit maker. Right. Some fursuit makers will be like, yeah, you can put it in the washing machine. Some people will like, do not put this in the washing machine. Jimmy can go in the washing machine. His maker was confident that he could go in the washing machine. He goes in the washing machine with minimal harm, minimal risk of harm. Queenie, on the other hand, what the heck, go? Queenie, on the other hand, is a big head, and she also has multiple layers of hair, right? So she's got one down here, got another one here, and then one here at the top, and she's got this extra hair here. When Queenie is wet, she's heavy as heck. She also has, believe it or not, airbrushed bits, because this bit of marking here was not, when the fur was being shorn down, that last bit wasn't actually colored, so the maker had to airbrush it. Airbrush suits and washing machines don't go well together. Also, some eyes don't like the washing machine. These are printed eyes using water-fast ink, so they won't run. If you've got hand-painted eyes, you do not want to put your head in a washing machine. If in doubt, ask your maker. If in doubt, don't put it in the washing machine. Now, I have a secret confession to make. Queenie went through the washing machine this week. She doesn't do it very often, but at a push, I do sometimes put her through the machine because I am an adult and I have figured out, okay, if I screw this up, I'm willing to deal with the consequences, but you shouldn't. Ideally, heads should be hand washed, unless your maker tells you it's okay. Hand washing is really easy. You fill up your bath with some water. You block off your eyes if your eyes are going to get damaged by water. And you are just very gently going to give her the equivalent of a sponge bath, right? Inside and out. Ideally, you're going to use detergent that's either designed for hand washing or super delicates, right? Super low chemical washing detergent. You want to make sure you wash the inside of the head as well. A number of people who wash the outside and forget about the inside. The inside gets really messy and dirty. So your water will change color and it will start to look brown and horrible, and you need to make sure that you rinse off all of the detergent. That's really important because if you have a foam head like these two guys, this is just foam. And it will soak up water and it will soak up sweat. So you need to make sure that you wring these out and make sure that you support the head because the head will be so wet. You don't want to have it in the bath after you've rinsed it. And I'm getting nervous grabbing her like that. Just grabbing it by the muzzle or whatever because this will be so much water that it will just go and it will potentially break her head. All right, where are we at? Bodysuits. Bodysuits can generally go in the washing machine. What you should do, again, please check with your maker. I can't emphasize this enough. If your bodysuit is padded, who here has a digisuit? Who knows what a digisuit is? Good, okay, so I don't have to explain a digisuit. Great. If you have a digisuit or anything with padding, because I have seen non-digisuits with padding on the hip, you need to be able to remove your pads before you put it in the washing machine. I don't advise anybody wash a suit in a washing machine that has pads you cannot remove. Queenie has cushions. I just take the cushions out, put them in the washing machine, and because they're cushions, I put them on sanitize. I can put them on sanitize if I break the cushion, which has happened before. I have a pattern I could make a new one, right? They're really easy to make on a sewing machine. But I sanitize those because they are the things that are most likely to be in contact with this sweat factory, right? So I take those out, I wash them first, I dry them. Before I even put my bodysuit in, I make sure that the padding is dry. Then I wash the suit. I wash the suit by turning it inside out, zipping it up, putting it in on a gentle cycle. What temperature should I put a bodysuit in at? Sorry?
Cold.
Cold. Lowest you can go. You can, if you are feeling brave, increase the temperature a little bit. Again, I've been doing this giant animal thing for a long time, and so sometimes I do put my bodysuits in on a higher wash, but I do it because I know that A, my suits can take it because of the material in them, B, oh, they're really freaking old, sorry guys, and C, sometimes a regular cold wash doesn't work. The more you wash your suit, the less likely it is to be a musky husky. Okay? So, you've washed your suit, you get it out of the machine, Where does it go next? No, it does not go in the dryer. You lie it down. And then you do what? You start brushing immediately. Okay. There are lots of fursuit performers. There are lots of furries. There are lots of suit makers who go, yeah, you can put it in your dryer as long as you put it on cold. No, just don't. Because we are humans and we are stupid. You will screw up, right? It's a bit like you don't drive and text. You don't put your suit in the dryer, ever. Even on cold. Because all it takes is a power cut, right? I've heard of this happening. Someone had a suit in the dryer. There was a power cut. The power was restored, and the person's roommate, who was not a furry but furry happy and happy to live with a furry, decided, I'm going to be kind to my friend. The power's just come back on. I'll just restart the dryer. Guess what happened?
Hot, absolutely ruined.
Hot air and fur do not mix. It basically shrivels up, and it looks like horrible. And it can melt. Luckily, modern furs don't melt as much as the old ones do, but it can be bad. So play it safe. Don't put it in the dryer in the first place. Dry it flat, and start brushing immediately. Brush while it's wet. Brush, brush, brush. Brush with the grain. Put a TV show on. All right? May I brush your head? So grab your head, right? Start brushing. Grab your suit. Start brushing. Watch something on TV. Listen to a podcast.
Just sit there in silence for multiple hours.
Yeah. All right? Start brushing. Just keep brushing. Always brush. All right? Just keep brushing. Keep brushing. Keep brushing. Keep brushing. Keep brushing. Keep brushing. All right? And then it's going to be wet. Leave it. My pleasure. All right? And then come back in 45 minutes, an hour. Start brushing again. Throughout the drying process, brush multiple times. Don't stop brushing until the suit is dry. If you want to see a suit, if you've ever seen a suit at a convention that looks clean, but has lots of wavy lines in it, it's because it came out of the washing machine. They either laid it down or hung it up, and they brushed it once and then walked away. And eventually, as the fibers dry, they will unevenly dry. There is no way you can stop that. They will unevenly dry, even if you have fans on it from all directions. They will unevenly dry. The more you brush it while it's drying, the less likely you'll have to do remedial work. And remedial work is a pain in the butt. Just checking on my time. Wow, almost 3:10. Right, okay. So, let me just check out where I'm at. Do we have any questions up to this point?
The wavy fur, when it gets wet and you can brush it, is that reversible or is that permanent damage?
I'll come to that in a second, because the good news is you can fix it.
2 questions and a comment. First, preference on type of washer, top load, front load?
I don't put fursuits in any washing machine that has spikes of death. If it has an agitator in the middle, okay. Can I go really British on you for a second? I grew up in the UK, all right? We got rid of that type of washing machine in 1983, okay? I remember when my family first purchased their first automatic washing machine, and it was a front loader. And yes, there are benefits to top loaders, but front loaders are fun because you can watch the clothes go round, okay? That should be the only reason why you buy this. So yeah, I use front loaders because it's more easy to see if there's anything going wrong.
Okay. Second,
Oh yeah.
what's your thoughts on using a diluted Dawn soda?
Residue. Residue is the problem.
Okay.
It's okay to push. It'll get you out of a mess at a con if you absolutely need it. But generally, very, very light hand wash soap that's designed to be rinsed out. And please do like triple the rinse that you would normally do for any other clothes. Because you want to make sure that this has no horrible residue on it. And don't use fabric softener. Okay? And only use the dryer sheets to get rid of the static. Don't like try and do something fancy with dryer sheets or anything. You have another?
Comment on the drying. Yes, I learned that lesson the hard way. I have a tail that is a frizz.
Yes. I used to have fur that I brought to a con. Some of it had gone through a dryer and some of it hadn't. I have 3 dogs, and one of them is a bit of a chewer, and she found some of that fur the other day, and it is no more. So I didn't have time to make some fresh stuff before I did.
My Fursuit head has a 3D printed face. Do you have a thing at home that's kind of like a pet spot thing?
Yes.
Can I use it on it?
Yes, absolutely. So does everyone know the little green machines?
Yeah.
Everyone heard of them? Does anyone have one? Does yours leak?
No.
Is it just me? So we have a big green vacuum cleaner, like the big professional ones. I can't say what we call it because there are kids present. But we have a big vacuum cleaner that, you know, eats the carpet. That leaks, and we have a little tiny one that I use just for fursuits, and that leaks too.
Put it in a bucket.
I know, that's what we do. But yeah, you can use those. That's generally what I use on Queenie. But again, be sparing. Use the trigger, get some stuff on there, and then suck it off. You want to try and keep the head as dry as possible. Any other questions before we get on?
What's the kind of like brush you were showing that you recommended? What is it called?
I don't know what this type of brush is called. It's just like a hard brush.
Bristle brush?
It's like a bristle brush, yeah. If it was a horse brush, it might be like a tap.
Yeah, I'll just put that in my notes to make sure I got the right one.
Yeah. Any others before we move on?
After you wash it, like after you're done brushing it
Forever. Yeah.
while you're like waiting like 30 minutes or whatever, you put on a fan.
You can fan it. I mean, with heads, you want to fan it. What I do with tails is I actually have multiple box fans. Box fans are great. They are some of the cheapest types of fans you can buy. You can buy them from most supermarkets. I even know people who fly to cons and go to the local hardware store and buy a $20 fan and then give it to someone at the end of the con. If you have 3 or 4 box fans, I have 3 or 4 in my room, you can set them up around the head or around the tail. If you're blowing air on it from as many directions as possible, it will help eliminate too much of the fizzy, wavy stuff. But you're still going to want to keep brushing because you're going to make sure that your goal is to make sure that that faux fur stays as flat as possible.
When cleaning the inside of the head, is there a difference between heads that have the balaclava sewn in and heads that just have the foam built in?
Ideally, there shouldn't be a difference, but there might be. So if you have glue in your head, which most people do, some cleaners will not do well with glue gun glue. So again, ask your maker. All right, so we've done tails, feet are the other important one. And at this point, I want you to look at this poor guy's foot. I haven't brushed him since has anyone actually met Chimmy? He was about earlier. Yeah, Chimmy is starting to show his age. So this happened at con.
Oh, no.
Oh no.
So it's fine. Jimmy's not coming around anymore today, I don't think, unless I can fix him before tonight. I actually have a glue gun in my room. So Jimmy has Vibram 5 fingers inside in his feet. I like 5 fingers because it gives me more control over the foot paw than a traditional shoe, and it's actually smaller profile. But when it comes to brushing with feet, again, you're going to brush down like this. But this is an outdoor capable foot, but it's going to get dirt on it, which is where Folex comes in. Anyone heard of Folex? Folex is like black magic for Fursuit care. It's a spot cleaner that you can buy in a hardware store, and it's designed to help you get rid of stains on your carpet. Someone earlier on said color test, and it's really important with Folex because Folex is really potent stuff. But Folex is great at a con if the fire alarm goes off and it's chucking down the drain outside. And you have to go and stand outside in a suit whose paws are this color. Guess you forgot to bring the Folex. So you spray a little bit on, follow the instructions, you blot it off, and then brush it, dry it. You could do that 2 or 3 times. It will help get rid of hard stains in your suit. You can also occasionally sometimes steam out stains, but I wouldn't go there. Some suitors swear by steaming. I don't steam with the steam wand. I have done it once or twice. But generally, try Folex, try and blot it out, try and wash it out before you go anywhere else. Who earlier on said, have spare fur? Yeah. So, did you know that owning a fursuit means you also have to become a craft person? Right? I'm not joking. If you own a fursuit and you want your fursuit to look good all the time, you need to get good at fixing stuff because it will break. Even the best suits break. Now, before I get to this is a really important warning. Your relationship with your suit maker is important. When you buy your suit, if you're buying it directly from the suit maker, ask them questions about what you can and can't do to the suit. Some suit makers, like the person who made these 2 heads of cabbage, knows I can sort of use a sewing machine. No, I can sort of patch my suit. And she is totally okay with me working on my own suit and fixing it myself. Some suit makers, especially the ones who are charging you $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, get very upset if you try and fix something that has gone wrong without talking to them first. It doesn't matter if your zippers got stuck and come apart. It doesn't matter if the tail has started to burst at the seams. You should know before something breaks, is my maker okay with either me fixing it or someone else fixing it? Or are they going to go, no, it has to come back to me and I have to fix it? Because I have heard of suit makers who have warranties, who have rejected warranties, quite fairly, by the way, because a client's suit has broken. It is within the warranty period. The client has tried to fix it themselves, or they've got their best friend who says they can sew to fix it, and they end up destroying the suit. Because you can't just magically make new material appear. And I know that personally. Queenie has got smaller. Luckily, so have I. But Queenie is tighter now than she's ever been. And it's not because I'm heavier than I was when I first started suiting, because I'm not. It's because every time I fix her, a little bit more material comes off. So I've got fresh material to sew on.
Good reason to keep dieting, huh?
Yeah, exactly. But if you look at Chimmy's football here, can you see it's starting to go bare here? Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, when you buy your suit, again, if you have a good relationship with your maker, ask them, can I have some spare fabric? If you're happy with me working on my suit, can I have the leftover fabric? Sometimes they'll say yes, sometimes they'll say no. I was lucky with this idiot because I know of one other suit with this fur, this weird fur, right? It's unusual. And so the suit maker was like, I'm never going to use this. Here, right? I have, I think, enough fur to carry on making spares for Queenie, using the original as a pattern and then sewing in a patch. But knowing that you can get replacement fur is really important. And while the fur still may be in production, every run is different. It's a bit like, is anyone, who's not old enough to
Dye
own a
rooms
home?
and stuff.
None of you own homes, do you? How many here own homes? Yeah, that's what I thought. Right, okay. So if you own a home, one of the things when you're buying a home, you go, do you have any spare carpet? Right? It's one of the things you ask. Right? Because there's nothing worse than spilling some horrible stain, whether it be red wine or motor oil, and I've seen both, on your carpet, and then realize that the carpet in your house went out of production 20 years ago, and well, there's a company that makes something that's kind of the same, but then when the sun shines directly into this particular room at this time of day, you can see it's a patch. You want to make sure you have material that's matched to your fursuit. All right, we're running out of time, so I'm going to brush through. I'm going to get through this as quick as I can. All right. Wash and brush, knots. Oh, yeah. Oh, I have pretty much covered everything. Blah, 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 blah. Storage. We just talked about storage. Blah, blah, blah. Learn to sew. Do you know how to sew? Put your hand up if you're a suit maker. Sorry, put your hand up if you are a suitor who doesn't know how to sew. No shame. No shame. All right.
I sewed back in high school, but I forgot how to do it.
New Year's resolution. Learn to sew. Here's the thing. How much is your fursuit worth to you? How many of you here with a fursuit spent more than 4 figures on your fursuit? High three figures. So you bought your fursuit for so many $100s. Right. That's a lot of money. You do not want to be practicing how to sew on a fursuit that is worth more money than you probably could save in a couple of months. So, learn to sew off your fursuit. There are some really important stitches that we're going to learn. The first one is your running stitch. So called because it just goes, right? That's your first one. It is the least strong of all of the stitches, I would say, unless you're a really good sewer. It'll do. At a push, it'll do. But the stitch that you really need to learn is called the Henson stitch, or the ladder stitch. Okay? Who knows it? Oh, I'm impressed. Okay. I didn't print off a thing, but you can go online and find plenty of tutorials on how to do it. What makes ladder stitches so awesome is normally, like when you're sewing 2 pieces of fabric together, you have piece 1, piece 2, and then you stitch in the middle, right? That would look terrible on a fursuit, am I right? So what a ladder stitch does is, the way it works is, as you sew, the fabric bends in, and the actual stitch gets hidden behind a seam. So you don't see the stitch, you just see these 2 pieces of fabric mated together. If you can learn that ladder stitch and you can pull it off at a con, you can save your butt. Anthro Con 2018. Queenie had gone to the UK the week before to see my lovely big sister who wanted to meet her. My sister was profoundly deaf. She was awesome. She's 15 years older than me. She was sadly in hospital, paralyzed with metastatic breast cancer, having had her breast cancer come back, and it broke her spine. And one of the last things I did with my wonderful sister was I flew the 5,000 miles back to England with this head of cabbage, who at the time was much younger than she is now. And I went to the hospital. I rented a Tesla. I was in the parking lot of this hospital. It must have looked crazy on the CCTV, right? I didn't have a handler. I broke all the rules. But I've been doing public fursuiting for years, so I knew how to self-handle, right? I put her in, put her on. I walked into the hospital. They knew I was coming. The staff thought I was great. I then got paraded around every other ward after I'd seen my sister. Went home, cried a lot, flew back to England. Flew back to the States. I got to Anthro. she had developed a really nasty gash just here. And I was at Anthro. I'd done a couple of panels with my friends, and I took her off, and I heard a, and it was ripped. If I hadn't known the Henson stitch, that would have been me done for the rest of the convention, unless I found someone who could fix it for me. But literally, I spent an hour in my room swearing and stitching at the same time. You can do both. While watching probably Star Trek on the cable TV in the hotel room. And later that day, my annoying head of cabbage was out and about again on the floor. So that is an important thing to learn. Okay, we have 5 minutes left. I've talked too much. Fire me questions. Fire me. No, fire questions at me. Thank you.
It's not exactly a maintenance question, but another panel, somebody asked how about traveling with fursuits? Specific tips or things not to do?
Like temperance, I think traveling in a hard case is preferable. I have a hockey bag. This is my hockey bag right down here. I have flown with this hockey bag, but I should also note that my fursuits are squishy. So as long as no one opens the bag, I'm happy. If you've got a soft suit, you're going to be a lot easier traveling than if you have a hard head or anything like that.
Any inspection tips to kind of prevent those kind of rips from occurring in the first place? Like things you should look for?
Yeah, you should always watch when you're brushing your suit. Keep your eyes open for seams that are coming apart. When I was brushing Chimmy earlier, you guys may have seen it. There's a loose thread right here. As I was brushing and I went, oh, I caught a thread, right here, this little loop of white. Just keep your eyes open, pay attention when you're brushing. Anything else? I shouldn't do that with my suits. I'm really bad at my suits.
In the little green machine, you just put like hand washing detergent.
You can put hand washing in. You can sometimes use a really diluted carpet cleaner.
Well, it was just on cleaning like the teeth or claws and cleaning the plastics.
I've used alcohol wipes before on those. Oh, there was one thing I didn't talk to you about. Okay, I'm going to teach you something, but you got to promise me you're not going to do it unless you're super confident. And you're going to practice on some rough fur that isn't part of your fursuit before you do this. Waviness. Someone was asking about waviness and how you can get rid of it, right? Okay. You got a hair dryer. Hair dryer, flat surface. Not an iron, a hair dryer. Not a heat gun. Hair dryer. For your hair. If you turn it on your head and it feels too hot, it's going to be too hot for your fursuit. I did this in the hotel room before I did Chimmy's, because his sleeves. Where are your sleeves? Oh, look at this. Anyone else have a partial with sleeves? Oh yeah, look at that. So sleeves tend to get all kinds of mats on them, right? You see, even now it doesn't look great. So what you do, obviously not wearing it, put a little bit of heat from your hairdryer at about this distance. Blast with heat, turn away, brush. Blast with heat, turn away, brush. It's that quick. What you're doing is you're controlling the amount of heat that the fur has. You're just very, very gently warming it up, brushing it, and turning the heat away. You're effectively giving that fur a chance to straighten itself, and then you're brushing it down and aligning it. But it's an advanced technique. Please do not do it on your suit unless you're confident that you're not going to screw it up, because I've seen someone who was like, I used the hairdryer on my fursuit and it's all crinkly now, and I'm like, did you just hold it there? It's literally, you have to heat away, heat away, heat away, heat away, heat away. The same is true, by the way, for any heat anywhere near fursuits. Don't do a cooking show in your fursuit, please. Unless you are an experienced performer who acknowledges that, yes, I might end up burning my fursuit pants.
What would you recommend for washing, like, hand paws?
I put them in with a bodysuit. You can put them, turn them inside out, put them in a lingerie bag if you have a lingerie bag. If you don't have a laundry bag, put them in a pillowcase. Tie the pillowcase tight. If you're putting a head in the washing machine, put it inside a pillowcase. Can you see Jimmy's going a bit bald right about here? That was the one time I didn't use a pillowcase. Idiot. Anything else? All right. Well, thank you very much. It was fun. After this, I'm heading to the Remembering Those Who Have Gone Before, which is a reflection time for those who want to remember family, friends, loved ones who are no longer with us.
That spot cleaner, can you spell that Folex?
Folex, F-O-L-E-X. And then tonight, who's going to come to my voice panel?
Yeah! Jimmy Tango Fox wants you to come.
Queenie is also very keen on seeing you tonight. She's going to be there in her splendor, as much as it is right now. We're complete with the glasses. Got to have the glasses. You might even get to see Chrissy.
Hi! It's so good to see you. I am so happy about being here.
But Chrissy only comes out occasionally. So there you go. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great rest of con, and hopefully see you next year. Yeah. Oh yeah? Were you were in Portland?
That was super helpful. I don't